Empire State Building, United States was built in 1 year and 45 days, from 1930 to 1931. Eiffel Tower, France was built in 2 years, from 1887 to 1889. Brandenburg Gate, Germany was built in 3 years, from 1788 to 1791. Golden Gate Bridge, USA was built in 4 years, from 1933 to 1937. Lotus Temple, India was built in 6 years, from 1977 to 1986. Burj Khalifa, United Arab Emirates was built in 6 years, from 2004 to 2010. St. Basil's Cathedral, Moscow, Russia was built in 6 years, from 1555 to 1561. Petronas Twin Towers, Malaysia was built in 7 years, from 1992 to 1999. The Colosseum, Italy was built in 8 years, from 72 to 80 AD. The White House, Washington, D.C., USA was built in 8 years, from 1792 to 1800. Tower Bridge, England was built in 8 years, from 1886 to 1894. The Statue of Liberty, USA was built in 9 years, from 1875 to 1886. Christ the Redeemer, Brazil was built in 9 years, from 1922 to 1931. The Parthenon, Greece was built in 9 years, from 447 to 438 BC. Sydney Opera House, Sydney, Australia was built in 14 years, from 1959 to 1973. Mount Rushmore, South Dakota, USA was built in 14 years, from 1927 to 1941. The Forbidden City, China was built in 14 years, from 1406 to 1420. Big Ben, England was built in 16 years, from 1843 to 1859. Neuschwanstein Castle, Germany was built in 17 years, from 1869 to 1886. The Great Pyramid of Giza, Egypt was built in 20 years, from 2560 to 2540 BC. The Taj Mahal, India was built in 22 years, from 1632 to 1653. Angkor Wat, Cambodia was built in 28 years, from 1122 to 1150. The Palace of Westminster, London, England was built in 30 years, from 1840 to 1870. Trevi Fountain, Italy was built in 30 years, from 1732 to 1762. Machu Picchu, Peru was built in 30 years, from 1450 to 1480. St. Paul's Cathedral, England was built in 35 years, from 1675 to 1710. Sacré-Cœur, Paris, France was built in 39 years, from 1875 to 1914. Sacsayhuaman, Peru was built in 50 years, from 1438 to 1488. The Acropolis of Athens, Greece was built in 50 years, from the 5th BC to the 4th BC. St. Peter's Basilica, Vatican City was built in 120 years, from 1506 to 1626. The Sagrada Familia, Spain was built over 140 years, from 1882 to 2026. Buckingham Palace, England was built in 150 years, from 1703 to 1853. The Leaning Tower of Pisa, Italy was built in 199 years, from 1173 to 1372. York Minster Cathedral, England was built in 252 years, from 1220 to 1472. The Alhambra, Spain was built in 289 years, from 1238 to 1527. Chichen Itza, Mexico was built in 200 to 400 years, from 600 AD to 1000 AD. Louvre Palace, France was built over 400 years, from 12th to 16th century. Petra, Jordan was built in 500 years, from the 4th BC to the 1st AD. Stonehenge, England was built in 1,500 years, from 3100 BC to 1600 BC. The Great Wall of China was built over 2,300 years, from 770 BC to 1633 AD.